Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and before we start this video today, I want to give a shout out to all the new channel members who have become a part of the membership program here the past few days. I'm looking at The God Pill, Kari Plays Fortnite, Art of Free Speech, Campbell Sears, John Allen, Hawker Riley, and then finally Willie Beeman. These guys all joined during my most recent live stream, during that reactions live stream versus the Panthers, so thank you guys all so much for that. If you guys are interested, blue join button next to the red subscribe button, also link down in the comments section below. Go check it out if you want to support the channel further. But in this video today, we are going to be talking about the matchups that we all should be keeping an eye on in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Week 11 matchup versus the Los Angeles Rams. So without further ado, let's get started talking about the first matchup I want to highlight, which is going to be Jason PierrePaul versus the Rams backup left tackle. I do not know who this player is going to be because they have a couple of guys who could fill in that role. But for those of you who are not in the know, last week the Rams starting left tackle Andrew Whitworth had sustained an injury that has placed him now on the injured reserve. His season is very much done. He will not be playing in this game, nor for the remainder of the Rams season. And if you guys know me, left tackle is one of the most important positions to me in the entire NFL. I would say it's probably top 3. So now that the Rams are without their starting left tackle, and a good one at that, Whitworth has always been one of the better starting left tackles in the entire NFL. That's something the Buccaneers simply cannot ignore. And one of the main guys who's been going up against left tackles this season for the Buccaneers defense has been Jason PierrePaul. Last year it was normally Shaq Barrett, but Shaq Barrett and Jason PierrePaul have kind of switched sides a little bit this year in terms of pass rushing opportunities. So that's going to be the Buccaneer that I kind of focus in on being able to take the advantage most for Whitworth being out of this game. And I think that it could be an overall good result for this Buccaneers defense. Jason PierrePaul is at 7.5 sacks so far this year. I believe he is on pace for 12 sacks for the entire season. We could see him get another sack, maybe another sack and a half versus the Rams here now that they're without their starting left tackle. And I think the Rams do have a pretty underrated offensive line. I do think that that is a good unit when they are fully healthy, when they are fully together. Now with Whitworth being gone, the Buccaneers cannot ignore that. They need to take advantage and attack that left tackle position as much as humanly possible, and I feel like Jason PierrePaul is going to be one of those main guys who is going to benefit from a backup left tackle being in that game. The next matchup I want to mention is arguably the most important one. It is going to be Aaron Donald versus Ryan Jensen and Alex Cappa. This is a matchup that we saw actually last year where Jensen and Cappa generally got the better of Aaron Donald. If you guys remember that game last year versus the Rams, it was an insanely fun game, had so much back and forth. It was actually the first ever MrBucsNation watch party, and it was a blast of a game to watch. I wish we could watch it again this year. Unfortunately, with the way the world is, that is not the case. But as I said, Aaron Donald played against the Buccaneers last year and was overall kept in check. Now, that is not to say that Aaron Donald is bad or that the Buccaneers should be fine this game, because again, Aaron Donald, in my opinion, is the best defensive player in the entire NFL, and it's not even close. I mean, Aaron Donald is insane how good Aaron Donald is. So again, it is going to be up to Ryan Jensen, it is going to be up to Alex Cappa to try and stop this absolute bulldozer, nuclear bomb of a human being. They have to try and stop this man. We will see if they can do it again for the second year in a row, but you know Aaron Donald's going to be coming in with some more tricks up his sleeve, some more ways to try and win double teams than what he had last year, because he's going to study that film, he's going to see what they tried to do to him last year, and he's going to say, okay, well, I can correct those things and continue to be the absolute destructive human being that I am along this defensive line. So you cannot take that lightly. Just because you did good against Aaron Donald once does not mean you're going to do good against Aaron Donald again. You have to be ready. And it's really going to be Ryan Jensen and Alex Cappa who are going to be two of the main guys going up against Aaron Donald. So they have got to be prepared. Otherwise, things could get ugly for Tom Brady pretty darn quickly. The next matchup that is going to be worth paying attention to is going to be Jalen Ramsey versus the Buccaneers wide receivers. And I named the entirety of the Buccaneers wide receiver core, I guess you could say. I'm talking about Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown. I talk about all three of those guys because really I don't know who the Rams defensive coordinator would prioritize in terms of coverage. You imagine that Jalen Ramsey would probably be shadowing one of those guys. I'm not sure, because if you have Jalen Ramsey shadow somebody, that essentially removes them from the game. I mean, that's just a fact. Jalen Ramsey is still one of the best cornerbacks in the entire NFL, but I don't even know if they can afford to have Jalen Ramsey shadow somebody. I mean, yes, it would help definitely in removing one of those wide receivers, but you would still have the other two guys to worry about. So I really don't know how I would handle that as a defensive coordinator. It's why I'm not a defensive coordinator in the NFL, but it's going to be really interesting to see how the Rams use Jalen Ramsey. If they have him shadow one of the Bucs wide receivers, which one are they going to prioritize? That's the first question. And if they don't use Jalen Ramsey to shadow somebody, then how are they going to be able to most effectively use Jalen Ramsey to cover as much of that ground as possible with some of their safeties like Taylor Rapp, who in my opinion is a very underrated safety among some of those other guys in that pretty overall good Rams secondary. I'm going to be very curious to see how the Rams do that there. The next matchup worth paying attention to is going to be Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods versus the Buccaneers secondary. This is another really good wide receiver group the Buccaneers will be going up against, much like in the case of Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, and Curtis Samuel. You now have Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Josh Reynolds a little bit. They don't have Brandon Cooks anymore. He was traded to the Houston Texans, who, he's finally starting to get some things going on over there. Shout out to my friend Kyle, because he loves Brandon Cooks. But I really think that you can't take this wide receiver group lightly. Josh Reynolds, he's a little bit more of an unknown, but he has been known to really, have some pretty big games as a number 3 wide receiver for this Rams offense. Makes sense. The Rams, coach Sean McVay is a phenomenal offensive mind, but Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, I feel, are a very underrated wide receiver duo, and they're going to be going up against Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, and Sean Murphy-Bunting, the usual suspects here in this Buccaneers secondary, and you can't take them lightly, because Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, when they're on, they're one of the best wide receiver duos in the NFL. I do firmly believe that. I think they do get overlooked a lot by media and, just a ton of fans and things like that, but they're good. They really are good. So you can't take that lightly. It's going to be up to Carlton Davis, who's still having a very solid year, Jamel Dean, who admittedly has had a very up and down year, and Sean Murphy-Bunting, who I would say has had more good games than bad. So it's going to be up to those 3 guys to try and combat those 3 wide receivers. We will see how they do. Fairly confident that they'll do a good job, but again, you can't take those guys lightly. I mean, they're going to get some type of thing going here in this game. It'll just matter as to how much the Buccaneers secondary can try and contain those guys and limit the damage. So pay attention to that. Finally, the last thing that is going to be worth mentioning is going to be Tom Brady, Bruce Arians, Byron Leftwich, and Todd Bowles versus Jared Goff and Sean McVay. And there's a lot of history there, not so much with Bruce Arians and his coaching staff versus Sean McVay and his coaching staff, because, those two parties pretty much missed each other. But in the case of Tom Brady, it's very interesting with Tom Brady because obviously the Rams lost in the Super Bowl to the New England Patriots and Tom Brady. They were absolutely decimated by Bill Belichick and his defense. Now, Sean McVay has learned a lot since that Super Bowl loss where they were just completely ineffective on offense, and he continues to reinvent and reinvigorate his offenses every single year, and he's one of the best minds in football. There's still a reason that teams are trying to find the next Sean McVay is because the guy's an offensive wizard. He's an offensive guru, and he knows what he's doing. He really is a very bright offensive mind. So they're going to be looking to get a little bit of revenge on Tom Brady, Jared Goff, and Sean McVay, but I've also seen a lot of people talking about how this could potentially be another scenario where Bruce Arians and his coaching staff get outcoached yet again by a superior coaching staff in Sean McVay and his staff. And yeah, that could be a very realistic thing that happens. We'll just have to wait and see, but that is something I worry about. That is something I think about, is these two coaching staffs going head-to-head with each other. It's a tough call. It really is. The Rams are so creative on offense and on defense, and Byron Leftwich, We know this. Sometimes he doesn't have the best game plans in the world. Sometimes he has very vanilla play calling. So I'm a little worried about that with the creativity of this Rams defense last year. They definitely did a very good job of, churning out some yards, getting some points on offense, and even on defense, they did a good job of getting takeaways as well. That was both Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich versus Sean McVay, and they did a pretty decent job. Can they do it again? We'll have to wait and see. Sean McVay really is one of the more dangerous coaches, and he has one of the more dangerous coaching staffs in the NFL just because of how innovative they are and how much they go out of their way to just be insanely unique and creative. It really is commendable. So, guys, that is going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts about all of these matchups that I said down in the comments section below, and what are some other matchups that you guys are going to be keeping an eye on. Give me your thoughts. But guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed. Now, I'll see you in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.